What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another special guest on. This is a continuous trend, and they continue to keep getting better and better. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Blake Schnieders. Make sure I said that right. And he's a producer and show host from 810 WHB. If you are a Kansas City guy, which I know many of you are, you know exactly who he is. What is going on, my friend?
What is going on, Lucas? Hey, man, I appreciate you reaching out to me and bringing me on the show. I saw you had my guy Sterling Holmes on the show last week.
Yeah.
So you guys put on a spectacular show, as I'm sure you always do. So,
awesome.
But yeah, man, just freaking hanging out. And I want to apologize to all your viewers. I'm doing it from my car right now. You got me at Prime Blake. I'm in my car, but hopefully the lighting and the sound is going to be okay.
It's perfect, man. It's perfect. That sets us right up for the scene. You know, we get to get into it. So I'm looking forward to this. I got some questions. I'm ready to fire off. First one up. Obviously, I saw you went to Omaha, man. I'm telling you what, that is a bucket list of mine. I'm a big time baseball fan. Played college baseball, so I have a huge passion for that. You got to give me the rundown. You know, just give us a little bit of what was it like. Do you have any recommendations? What, just the full experience? Let's hear some of it.
Yeah, man. So me and my buddies. So I've actually got a buddy that works for the Royals. I won't say his name, but he knows who he is. He works inside the clubhouse, you know, pretty close with the players and everything. So he texted me on like Sunday and was like, "Hey, man, since they're on a 10-game road trip, he was like, "Hey, I've got a couple free days. Do you want to do something crazy?" And I was like, "What do you got in mind, buddy?" He's like, "Do you want to go to the College World Series?" I said, "Well, hot damn, I ain't never been on the College World Series ever. I've never even been to Omaha." So I said, "Hell yeah, let's do this thing." So we end up taking the trip, and let me tell you, man, the trip itself was amazing, but the overall experience made it so that when we were driving back home, me and my two other buddies decided this is going to become a yearly thing for us. We're gonna go back next year, the year after that, and like we did a whole kind of video vlog series. I haven't posted it yet, but basically I want to like just detail our trip from the World Series, because we did a whole, it was a whole, there was probably some drinks involved, alcohol was probably involved in the making of these videos, but it was a good time, man. I had never been. I tell you, it blew every expectation I had of it out of the water, and I will definitely be going back.
That's what I like to hear. So I was super pumped to jump into this really quick to hear that. Can you give everybody your social medias, that way they can come follow you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So on on Twitter, my name is Blake. I'm sorry, it's Wake, capital N Blake, Wake and Blake 29. So that is my Twitter name. And then on Instagram, it is Ginger Pants 4. So Ginger Pants, the number 4. So there you go. It used to be Ginger Pants 69s, but for professional reasons, I changed it.
Yeah, you got to, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I was super pumped, man, to get in the College World Series stuff. Yeah, it's hard to become a fan of some. I mean, I guess not necessarily hard, but you become a fan of a lot of the teams. I mean, going into it, obviously Arkansas has Dayton Moore's son on there. You're pulling for them. They don't even make it to Omaha. You got Vanderbilt.
Didn't even get it in.
Yeah, you got Vanderbilt, the powerhouse, Jack Leiter, obviously Kumar Rocker. That team is solid. And then, you got I'm always been a Texas Longhorn baseball fan, but I'm a diehard KU fan, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Texas Longhorn fan. They obviously go down. And then you have everything with the pandemic revolving around North Carolina State. That was incredible. But yeah, the game was going on. Jack Leiter's pitching tonight. So which games did you get to see? I don't want to dive in too much because I know you said you're going to vlog it, but which games were you able to see?
Yeah, so we went down. So I went down on Monday. So a whole week ago, actually, we went down and we saw Vandy versus NC State. Ironically, wow. The two teams that are at the center of kind of all the controversy that's the game we saw. That's when Jack Leiter threw 14 or 15 strikeouts in a game that ended up. I mean, it was a crazy. I've never viewed a 1-0 game that was that exciting. Yeah. Not even in the professional level.
Yeah.
Jack Leiter will be a top 5 pick. He is a freaking stud, man. He had, I believe when we left, it was 14 or 15 strikeouts. I know it was at least 14. He
Yeah.
might have eclipsed the 15th strikeout, but and weirdly enough, they lost. He ended up he only gave up 2 hits all game, and one of the hits he gave up was a home run, unfortunately. But so we went down and watched that game. Ironically enough, so I'm a big time Mizzou fan. MIZZRU, bleed black and gold till I die. But when we got there, obviously Mizzou is not in the tournament. So we said, hey, this is just going to be fun as a spectacle. Let's pick a team and we'll pick some players and that's our team. So we get there and we're like, hey, are we all on the Vandy train? We're on the Vandy train. Sounds good. Well, we get there, we're cheering for Vandy the whole time, right? We're go Commodores! Lionel Richie's my hero. Let's go! Commodores, Lionel Richie. We're like, come on! We're giving it to Vandy. We're like, oh yeah, diehard, bleed black and gold. It's funny because I do bleed black and gold for another team, but it was just so funny. And then all of a sudden, after the game, they obviously lose.
Yeah.
So as soon as they lose, me and my buddies are like, big time NC State guys, big fans of NC State. So we go to the merchandise shop, all of us buy NC State gear. Just to mess with people. We're like, this is what we're doing this whole time. We are going to play the part of a fanatic fan. And so we go buy all this NC State gear. So then we go out to the bars that night and we learned the little chants. We're going, Wolf Pack, Wolf Pack. And we're doing the little hand signal, Wolfpack, man. So everybody believes that we are big time NC State. It was just hilarious, man.
That's so awesome, man. That is awesome. Where do you put your vlog out at? I gotta watch it, man. That sounds tremendous.
I want to put it. I'm gonna try to put it on. I don't know what your viewership is. Are we allowed to? I mean, I probably should have asked you this before the show. Are we allowed to cuss?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just got when I do it to YouTube, I just got to put in there that my host or my guest likes to cuss. That's all it is.
Okay, it's no big deal. I can stick to it. I'm on the radio, so I know how to kick that gear. But it's for my vlog, it was just drunken shenanigans throughout the whole thing, before and after and during. So I want to try to create a cool edit for that whole thing, and I just haven't gotten the chance to do it yet. But yeah, when I do, I'll probably release it on Twitter as well as my Instagram. So I'll definitely keep you in the loop and let you know.
That's awesome, man. The College World's experience.
Yeah, overall College World Series experience, I will definitely be going back.
See, that's what I want to hear. I definitely want to do it. I want to be a part of it. It's just because exactly what you just said, the fan experience, just I think it just sounds so much fun. And the games are intense, and I think that they just play a little bit quicker and stuff too. So yeah, man, I'm super pumped for it. I'm excited to talk to you about the Royals as well, even though the Royals are kind of in the dumpster and they are literally on fire right now. I am excited because there are some exciting things that could potentially happen here in the coming months. Obviously we see Kelvin Gutierrez go down today. They are making some moves. And there's always that potential that Bobby Witt is going to be there. But before that, we also have the trade deadline. Are there any pieces that you feel are going to be moved? And if so, who is number one? Who do you think number one would be targeted? And just really kind of talking about that situation.
Yeah, man. So I host a show called Baseball Tonight on 810, and we actually talked about this a little bit yesterday. I was talking with Josh Briscoe. I don't know if you know Josh Briscoe. I was talking to him on the show, and honestly, man, I don't know if the Royals are going to make a move. I don't think they're going to make a move. Yeah. And from what I've seen, I don't see them making any moves for the trade deadline, even though they probably should. But if I'm realistically speaking, they probably should have made the moves that they would make this trade deadline. They probably should have made last trade deadline or the trade line, the deadline before. So I just don't know if we're going to see them make any substantial moves, which sucks. But at the same time, I don't know if they have a whole lot of players to trade. Obviously, Whit Merrifield, he would be the key guy that could give you a lot of stuff in return. Then you got guys like Soler, who you're well, we could trade him, but are we really going to get anything of substance in return for him? I
Yeah,
mean, he's just been. I mean, people are probably going to give you crumbs for cookies at this point for him.
yeah,
It just kind of sucks. They're in a weird spot right now where you got a ton of young guys that could be coming up here in the next year, but you don't have a lot of guys that you probably could trade away to get more good guys to come up. So I think they're kind of in a pickle at the moment. So I don't see any major trade deadline moves that I think the Royals are going to make, unfortunately.
for sure. Yeah, and I'm kind of on the fence. I think like Mike Miner might go just because he's expendable. But like
I could
Michael
see
Tate.
Duffy. I could see
Yeah,
Duffy maybe.
really.
I doubt it, but I could see that being a play.
Yeah, and we hear the rumors and the rumblings. Like today, I immediately pop on Twitter first thing in the morning, and I see that the Padres are apparently interested. So, definitely something like that. I could see Michael Taylor, in being traded just for a trash can and maybe a Gatorade cooler, just because he plays defense and he would be a late inning piece. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man, and I think you know. So I was waiting to see how you answered that, because that leads me to, do you feel Dayton Moore tends to have an emotional attachment to some of these players? Like, do you think he just builds good relationships with them, which, you should, but do you think he just gets so attached? Like, because we go out and re-sign a Greg Holland, we go out and get a Wade Davis, we don't trade a Whit Merrifield when he's at his peak, knowing that we're probably going to be a few years away from a playoff run and even the World Series. You just think he gets so attached because like Mike Miner comes back, like some of these guys just find their way back. Alcides Escobar, for goodness sakes, is down in AAA. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think what Dayton Moore is real. I mean, I don't think it's anything crazy to dive into. I think really what it is that Dayton Moore is just kind of bought into what the culture of the Royals is. I mean, if you
Yeah,
look back at the previous owners as well and the previous GMs, they don't make a lot of moves either. Like they have this weird, kind of like you said, they have this weird attachment to players that make Kansas City feel good,
yeah,
but not players that make Kansas City play better.
hmm,
And I think that's a prime example of what you're seeing right now. And we actually addressed this yesterday. One of my producers from my show, Marco Marquez, he brought up, is Dayton Moore on the hot seat? And realistically, even though he probably should be, I don't
yeah,
think he is at all. I
yeah,
think within the organization, I don't think he is. I think once you go to back-to-back World Series in 14 and 15, you're kind of good for about 5 to 7 years.
yeah,
Maybe hell, maybe even 10. Like it's just weird the way the Royals organization moves at, in
hmm,
my opinion, a slow pace. I think they love players that make Kansas City feel good. And what's the best way to make Kansas City feel good? Bring back guys that remind them of 14 and 15. Holland, Davis, like guys who are clearly shot. Alcides Escobar, who can't even get up to the big leagues. Like
yeah,
guys that are clearly shot.
yeah,
And yet you're still kind of bringing these guys in. Now, you know, Holland has been up and down all year. I mean, one
yeah.
day he gets out on the mound, you love him. The next 3 days, you hate him. So
Oh yeah,
I think Dayton Moore is kind of just riding that same wave that the previous GMs have before him of just keeping Kansas City happy.
hmm,
But honestly, between you and me, and I know that excuse me, I know that you probably feel the same sentiment. I think now Kansas City is tired of that. I think
yes,
they're tired of being held hostage to happiness instead of product on the field. And
yeah,
I think you're hearing a ton of Royals fans now kind of go above and beyond and say, "Hey, listen, this is not the product." I mean, and I know you've obviously watched the Royals, but for your listeners out there, they've been god awful. I mean,
yes,
like they started hotter than hot, and all of a sudden they are just one of the top five worst teams in the league.
yes,
And I think Royals fans are just tired of it. I think they're officially saying, "Hey, kind of like the Royals, or kind of like Kansas City fans got on the Chiefs after a while, being like, hey, we're tired of this product." After Dick Vermeer left, then you go through a tumultuous rotating door of different coaches. When you got freaking play to win the game. I'm blanking on his name right now.
with
Herm
Todd
Edwards.
Hate. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Todd Haley and Herm Edwards, and then Romeo Cornell, and you're like, okay. And then they finally got Andy Reid. Then they finally started making Andy Reid
yep,
started making the moves that everybody wanted to see. I think
yes,
Royals fans are now holding the organization accountable, saying,
yeah.
hey, we would like that same kind of winning mentality and stop just trying to make us happy with players that we already know of. Let's start trying to win games.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. And I think I went back and really did some research today because I started questioning the Royals. I believe are 23rd or 25th when it comes to overall payroll in the MLB this year out of 30 teams. Obviously,
Makes
we were
sense.
I think we fell in at 93 to 95 million overall cap. Payroll spent this year. The average for the league was 130 million. I started to question, like, obviously we have new ownership and there's a slew of new people that are a part of that ownership group. And at what point do we then evaluate and question, are we spending enough money? And I'm not saying get to the Dodgers level of 200 and just astronomical amount, but at what point do you start to get back to that average? Because we saw when the Royals spent money in 14 and 15, they weren't like, out just completely outrageous, but they spent enough money to make it happen. You plug in the players that are young and they're feisty, they're hungry, and you would mix them in with the Kendrys Morales. You start plugging them in with some of those seasoned veterans, and you go and you win ball games and eventually win a World Series. I think my personal thought is we need to get back to that, and that's what I agree with. Yeah, we do have the Hollands and stuff, but find those guys in your organizations because they're there. I mean, we're seeing some studs down in the minor leagues right now that are performing. You go plug in with some, free agents that are going to be coming out. I mean, that's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're 100% right. I think, and it'll be interesting to see what John Sherman does as the new owner of the Royals. Forever we were under the David Glass era,
Yeah.
and now I'm interested to see how Sherman kind of reacts after the whole COVID situation with baseball last year. I'm interested to see how he will take negative feedback from not only the fans but also just the play on the field.
Yeah.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that he's going to want to spend some money. He
Yeah.
might not have done it this year because I think that the tools that the Royals have on paper this year should have been very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
We've obviously seen a big hiccup in young pitching development, which I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. Like Cal Eldridge out there is just not, like, something is going on where they are not. I mean, and I've heard the same thing you're doing right now. I've heard that sentiment voiced by a lot of people. Get him the hell out of here. I just think that there's a big issue right now with player development. So I think it's going to be a combination of, one, bad product on the field. Two, I don't think John Sherman's going to want to waste talent. And the
Yes.
biggest thing that he's seeing right now is you got guys like Kowar, you got guys like Daniel Lynch, you got guys like in the minors, Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, like, when we look at what's happened with Lynch, Kowar, and then you take a guy like Brady Singer, who really just kind of came up last year.
Yeah.
Um, they're just like Kowar and Lynch have not been able to put anything together. I
Yeah.
think Kowar had one good. He had a good eighth inning a couple games ago. That was it. Like
Yeah.
that was all. Brady
Yep.
Singer can't seem to find his changeup. He needs a third, fourth pitch, at least a third pitch for him to be able to start getting rolling. I love his mental attitude. His
Oh
mental
yeah.
attitude is usually pretty good. Just it hasn't been able to progress, to put a whole game together. So I think what you're going to see is really a testament to Sherman as well, or sorry, Shermer as well, is saying, hey, how do you feel about negative play and potentially wasting talent? Because if
Yeah.
you're fine with that, then this is going to be a very long couple of years. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Hell, this could be a long 5-10 years. If you're not okay with that, which you shouldn't be, then go ahead and start shuffling up the order. Get Cal Eldridge the hell out of here. Bring in some guys that are going to work on player development, mental acuity, because I don't think it's the talent that I'm worried about with these guys.
Yeah.
Clearly, they've been, killing the game in double and triple A.
Mm-hmm.
It's the progression from AAA now to major leagues, the mental attitude and the mental side of that, I think, plays just as much of a part of that as the physical side. Well, if we clearly see that they're physically able to play, then something's lacking on the mental side, whether it's preparation, whether that's just not being mentally prepared. I mean, I don't know, but that I think it's going to be the biggest telltale sign of whether we start seeing some moves in the offseason. Because again, going back to the trade deadline, I don't think we're going to see much.
Yeah. And I think, because we're going to transition to the Chiefs, but I think a perfect example of a coach that I would expect, I think Matheny provides it. He just doesn't have the support, is Eric Bieniemy. I think we see how he holds his players for accountability. I think we see his aggressiveness at times where he doesn't mind getting in their ass because he expects more from his players. I think when Cal Edridge goes out there to have a conversation with a pitcher on the bump, he's intimidated. He looks like he's lost. He has no idea. When he's in the dugout and he's talking to Matheny, he's just clueless, it seems like. I mean, I understand that when Terry Bradshaw is working with hitters, they're obviously not working in a game. So it's hard to really evaluate his, except for how they perform. But when a pitching coach goes out there and just looks like he has no idea what to say, I think right there tells me like the road is over. But I also understand too, we're at a midpoint of the season and you can't just go. I mean, you can, but then it's probably hard to establish really, getting a pitching coach in there that is outside of the organization if that's the route you want to go, and then become familiar with the players that are within the organization. So I definitely understand why we probably haven't got rid of him yet, but I do think that's coming for sure. But yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some Chiefs.
And just to your point on that, I mean, just think about the confidence level that it brings down. If you go out on the pitching mound and you're not even sure what to say, why would your pitcher be any more confident that he would be able to produce if his coach doesn't even, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Seriously, if you go back to it, if you and start paying attention, you'll see Salvi talking to the pitcher way more. And obviously, I think that times there is some translation going on, but you'll see Salvi talking to the pitcher way more than Eldridge is even saying. It's almost like he's just back spectating and he's just out there because it's time to halt the game. But yeah, it's just crazy to see, man. And I think I agree with you. It's time to definitely reevaluate and get some stuff, changed up for sure. But Chiefs, man, Chiefs are coming. Training camp is coming. That's one of the most important parts of an NFL season is training camp. I think that's where you create your camaraderie, you build that, team. I'm excited. If you had to pick one position right now out of the whole team as a weakness, where are you going?
As a weakness?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I wanted to bring a tough one.
Probably the offensive line. No. That's the strongest position, clearly.
You ever think you'd say that?
Do what?
Did you ever think you'd say that that's the strongest after last year?
After last year? Well, so that's funny. Obviously the answer that I'm assuming most people would think would be like, no, you wouldn't. But I think the Chiefs under Andy Reid have been very good at filling positions that the fan, like, clearly they know what they need, but that doesn't mean every owner wants to do that or every coach wants to do that. They have this Napoleon complex, this power complex of like, you guys don't know what's good for me, I know what's good for the team. And I think what the Chiefs have really done as an organization is said, hey, we'll listen to you guys because you guys are also the same people that see the game every day. You see the product every day. Now, I don't want to give the fans too much power. I mean, as much as the fans love to, but I think they truly do listen. So, to go back to your question, I think the weakest position group right now would either have to be the linebacker core or the defensive line. And the only reason I say that at all is because we haven't gotten to see Nick Bolton yet.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard about Willie Gay right now, I've heard he is head and heels better than what he was last year. So the combo of those two right now, then you add in Anthony Hitchens, right? That to me, I think could be You asked me this again in a couple months, could be the best group on the field. But
Yeah.
as of right now, I think to me that let's use the term, that's the group that has the most to prove, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Most people are very, I guess, critical of our cornerback position right now, just because a lot of people believe Snead is going to be your number one, who obviously we're seeing what he's coming off of and really is going to be a full-time starter his second year. You have Ward, Fenton, we go out and get Hughes, the slew of other ones we got
We also
coming
got
in.
Baker. Baker's
Baker
going to be
coming
coming
back
off
from
that,
that,
that
you
leg
know,
injury.
his legs snapping like a pencil, like we used to back in second grade.
Yeah.
Uh,
Talk
but
about a
yeah,
crazy injury.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. But a lot of people are very critical, and a lot of people want to go see us at yet again another corner. What are your thoughts on that this late, going into training camp?
Yeah. So this move to me, um, for the Chiefs, I think a lot of fans want, like, and I'll be the first person to say, hell, go get Richard Sherman, right? Like, he's
Yeah,
out there. You know he's going to be smart enough to handle a contract. You know he wants to win a Super Bowl again. Like, that's why he signed with the 49ers originally that year, because he negotiated his whole contract. He wanted to win, and he thought that they gave him the best opportunity. Well, I think that would be a great signing, but them not making any moves at the cornerback position tells me one of two things. Either one, they're incompetent, which I don't believe.
yeah,
Like like they clearly know what they have. Or two, they believe that it's DeAndre Baker, correct?
correct.
I
Yeah,
don't have my notes. Usually I got all my notes in front of me and whatnot. I don't got them on here in the car with me. But I think that they believe DeAndre Baker is going to be a lot better than maybe what, because the little small sample size that we got to see, he was very good.
yes,
Very
yes,
good. So
flying off
I
the
think
edge. Yeah,
exactly. So I think the combination of Ward, because I think Ward again was suffering a lot of issues last year with his hand and everything. Like, he wasn't obviously the cornerback that he was the year before, but he wasn't bad. He just
yeah,
wasn't up to that same level.
for
Then you
sure.
got a guy. Then you got what you have. Man, I'm blanking right now. L'Jarius Sneed.
Yep.
Sneed was, I mean, he just made the top 25 under 25 list
Yes.
for the NFL. So I think what they think right now is they have a great mix-up between Ward, Baker, and Sneed. Then you got a guy like Bo Keys, and you got a guy like Mike Hughes that came in from the Vikings. Then you also have Juan Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu, and Sorensen. So when you really look at our secondary as a whole,
Yeah,
I think that they're very confident, and I think that shows me that if they didn't make any moves besides bringing in Mike Hughes, was that they are very confident in DeAndre Baker, which gives me confidence because we didn't get to see much of him last year.
for
So if
sure.
they're riding as high as they are on him, because he was a former first-round draft pick,
Yeah,
that they're probably going to be better than expected. I think that Chiefs fans, like, yeah, a big name would be great, but it's not about big names. It's about what the product is on the field. And when you take the numbers of what Ward did the year before, when you take the numbers of L'Jarius Sneed and the small sample size we saw from Baker, those three guys can lock. I mean, they can lock that defense down. So I think from the fans' perspective, it's not as flashy as you'd
yeah,
like to see, but I think the production is going to be there.
for sure. And we like to a lot of NFL teams now like to run nickel. And that's starting to become a lot more of a base defense for a lot of teams just because of how high powered passing offenses we're seeing. And I think the only reason why I would like to see it just addressed, it maybe Bo Peep Key steps up because that's one that I really do hope steps up.
Yeah.
But with us playing so much nickel, obviously they're going to have to interchange and do all kinds of different things. I mean, we're seeing the honey badger fly off the edge at times. You've seen corners fly off the edge like Sneed. Holy smokes. I mean, he had more
He had
sacks
what,
last year.
four
Yeah, he
sacks,
had
three sacks?
I think more sacks than Frank Clark almost. I mean, that's incredible. So, I mean, you really do have a lot of versatility when it comes to that position. I just would like to see maybe one more piece or maybe one of them just pop out, like you said. I really am excited for Baker. I just hope he's fully healthy and because man, just that little bit of a glimpse we saw, like you said, was just incredible. It just unfortunate situation, and yeah, it just sucked. But man, I'm
Well, and
excited.
I think that is one of the things that you're going to see a lot of. Like you said, we do the Chiefs play a ton of nickel. Well, the cool thing about Tyrann Mathieu and being as versatile as he is, and really even one Daniel Sorensen, who can also do that, is if they're going to start blitzing that guy off the corner, Daniel Sorensen can do it, Tyrann Mathieu can do it, or they can bring in a guy like Baker or a guy like Keys, a guy like Sneed. So that little nickel position is pretty interchangeable, especially with the safeties that the Chiefs have right now, to
Yeah,
where you don't need as much depth in that position because you got two other guys that also start for you that can kind of interchange. And when you really have a system of three safeties that can really play at all times, I think that just gives you a lot of versatility on the defensive side.
for sure. So that leads me right into the next piece, man. So defensive end and really the defensive line. So obviously we go get Reed to help out and kind of rejuvenate Frank Clark, which we'll talk about Frank here in just a second. But this front of the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, I'm really kind of liking. And there again is another thing. People are like, I would like to see him go get a Justin Houston or an Olivier Vernon, or go get who
Melvin
was
Ingram's still out there.
Melvin Ingram. So you see a lot of people doing that, but I'm honestly, you kick Chris Jones out there like they're talking, and not full time right now, but you kick him out there. I really like what we're going to be presenting, and if these linebackers, like you said, come 2 months and it changes your mindset, this defense might actually be looking okay. What are your thoughts on that defensive line?
Yeah, man. So that's funny what they're doing right now with Chris Jones and kind of kicking him out the defensive end officially. And this is actually something that I said last year during the season. I said I want to see more Chris Jones at D end. The guy can move like a D end, but he can play the interior like a freaking Vince Wilfork type guy, like somebody who can just disrupt things. So he's got so much versatility. I'd love to see him all over the defensive line because offensive lines will game plan around him and him alone. Frank Clark, yeah, big name production wise, he's whatever. Honestly, kind of looking back at the contract we gave him and his production the past couple of years, whatever. It's been hit and miss. Obviously he's been good for the Chiefs. I'd rather have him than not have him. But I think as far as production goes, Chris Jones is the disruptor. That's what defenses or offenses are keying around. So kicking Chris Jones out on the D end brings a lot of interesting things to the table. Now you all of a sudden you have Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and then you got a guy like Jarran Reed on the inside, as well as I'm blanking on the other two interior defensive linemen's name at the very moment.
Derek Nottie and
Nottie. There you go. Nottie is the main guy I was thinking of, Derek Nottie. Because he is kind of your pot roast, your beef up front in that interior. He can block, he can stuff the run and fill gaps and just clog up double teams. And I think what we've seen from Jarran Reed is he's kind of a hybrid. He can do a little bit of both. He can clog the middle, but he can actually get after the quarterback pretty well. Yeah. And if you have Chris Jones, Nottie, Reed, and Frank Clark, I think that's going to be, and I know just a little bit ago I said that was one of the defensive line was maybe one of those positions that I wanted to see more addressed, but I think they actually did a pretty good job because we already have, then you got a guy like Tano Passanel who's still waiting in the wings, who I think can still play and still produce. So I'm excited to see kind of how they use Chris Jones as the queen in chess. Like, he's going to be all over the board, and I would love to see them use him in funky fashions. That way you can get these other guys, kind of take some of the pressure off them, but allow them to get, maybe more one-on-one situations. Because imagine if your left tackle and your left guard, or your right tackle and your right guard have to double team Chris Jones. So you got two guys on Chris Jones, and then Jarran Reed, Frank, and then you don't have double team on Frank Clark. It's just, there's so many combinations I think they can do with it. It's going to be very interesting and exciting to watch.
For sure. I think that's going to be, finally we're going to see a little bit of, I think they're not going to, offenses aren't necessarily going to have a full on answer for how the Chiefs are going to be able to, I don't think we're going to specifically be able to say, well, we're going to be terrible at the run defense this year, or man, I hope we can, I think going into the season, that's honestly like what I'm most anticipating is like, our defense is. I mean, we know what we're getting in Patrick Mahomes. We know what we're getting from the offensive side of the football. I'm just super excited about this defense. I really do think that Spags is probably going to have, and again, this is just my opinion. I think this is going to be the best year for Spags in this Chiefs defense, just
Yeah.
because he's finally getting, kind of some fits, I guess you could say. And to say we're not done adding something, I mean, we couldn't, we go out and draft Joshua Kando from Florida State. Maybe that he gets a
Yeah.
spark and just becomes a freak as well. And you still got Wharton. I mean, you got guys that are coming back.
And Dana,
That
I mean, you got,
yeah,
and especially with Kando, I mean, I think he's been one of the least talked about guys probably this offseason. But honestly, I'm expecting him to come in and actually show us. I think he's going to be one of those guys that, with the little preseason we're probably going to get, but just in practice that we're going to start hearing a lot more from, because it's a little harder to evaluate defensive ends until the actual game is going. You can evaluate linebackers on speed and coverage and how they understand concepts and everything and stuff like that. But I think once things start getting rolling, I think Kando might surprise a lot of people.
yeah, for
He's just
sure.
so long. He's long, he's lanky, and he's athletic. And that's kind of like Frank Clark, kind of like Tono Passanel, kind of like Chris Jones. He's long, lanky,
Yep.
and he's fast and athletic. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what role he plays and how fast he progresses.
For sure, man. So my final Kansas City Chiefs question is going to be, and I've asked this to every person I've had on. So from a competitive standpoint, so a fan base that you think, I guess it would be more than just a fan base. So obviously the Chiefs and the away team, but outside of that, this is going to be the biggest game on the schedule. Like, that this is going to be one of it's the one. Which game are you most excited for from that perspective? Like, you just think that this is going to be one of the most epic showdowns this year. I know you don't have the schedule in front of you,
I was
but
going to say I don't have the schedule in front of me, but if I remember correctly, the Packers are on it, correct?
correct.
I would say the showdown with Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay, which I'm assuming he will be, but
Yeah,
to me, I think that'll be the Tampa Bay is not on our schedule, correct?
correct.
Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I had everything. Yeah, I would say the biggest game of the year, or at least maybe the most exciting one to me, is going to be that quarterback showdown of Patrick versus Aaron Rodgers. Because if we remember 2 years ago, what we saw from Aaron and Pat, I mean, that was a game.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'd probably say that one. It's always interesting to play the Ravens. Um, Hell, now I don't have the I don't have the. Are we playing the Ravens this year?
we are. We're playing them
Yeah.
the second week.
I just
Obviously, yeah, no, you're good, man. You're good. And, I think, the Browns is the one I'm going with. Game one,
okay.
week one. And the reason I say that is just because I really think from an overall perspective, the Browns are going to be just that, it's all going to come down to Baker, in my opinion. Obviously we know Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb in the backfield. That's a deadly combo. They're getting Odell back. They go out and re-solidify that offensive line. Their secondary has improved just astronomically.
Yeah.
They get Jadeveon Clowney on the DN position, who has been injury prone, but you pair him with Myles Garrett. Holy smokes. They go out and draft the kid from Notre Dame. They really did do some massive things. So one of the big things is they're coming to Kansas City. Arrowhead is going to be rocking. I think it's going to be one of the most elite crowds you're going to see because we're coming off the pandemic. That's the game that I think, in my opinion, there's some other ones on there. The Chargers late in the year could be a really important game just because it's going to be a playoff contention possibly. But yeah, so that definitely wanted to ask that question. Just even if you didn't have
agree.
it, man.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That I think I completely spaced on the Browns, and especially opening the year, that is going to be a bigger telltale sign for the Browns than I think it will the Chiefs, because the Browns obviously coming off almost a playoff win over the Chiefs, and farthest they've gone in freaking probably 20 years.
Yeah.
So them coming back, especially to try to get revenge when they have not gone deep in the season yet. Now they have a healthy Jadeveon Clowney to start. They got a healthy Myles Garrett. They got a healthy Baker. Kareem Hunt obviously is going to be wanting to fuel that fire for the revenge game. I think this is going to be a huge game and probably the best week 1 matchup we see across the league.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, man, for sure. I think, a lot of people are going to be tuning in for sure because, you could see this later on in the season when it comes postseason time. And I think, this is definitely going to have a magnitude opening up like it. I would love to come out and smack them in the mouth, but it'll just be interesting. It really will. And I'm just excited, man. I know so many people are excited for the football season, and it always helps when the Royals are just in the way they're playing, people just start getting excited for football season. So
hey, I want to make a prediction right now on your show for that game.
All right, let's hear it.
All of the B to KC fans, prediction right here coming straight from Blake Schnieders' mouth. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 400 yards in that game.
I like it.
And 3 touchdowns.
I like it.
Mark it right now, 4-3. I just have a feeling him and Baker are going to go at it. I don't think they're going to have a comfortability in the run game yet to have it rolling. And I think that Pat's going to come out there and put on a show because this is his prove it season. Of all the other seasons that he had, this is the one where he's like, no. Last year we said we had one goal, and the one goal we had we didn't meet. It's freaking on. Game time, baby. Gonna spank that ass all up and down Arrowhead Stadium.
I think he has some fuel. I definitely think that the way the Super Bowl ended, I think how close obviously Rodgers, I think, deserved the MVP, but how close he was to getting it again. I just think that there's a lot that really he wants to prove, and that's what you want as the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, obviously he was proposed the question, do you think you're going to go 20-0? And of course he's going to answer yes, but deep down inside, man, I think he feels that they can do it and he wants to do it. I mean, most definitely wants to do it, but I think he feels he can do it. And now he's starting to shed that off because Kelsey's saying the same thing. And, they do have some very tough games on the schedule. And anytime you play someone like the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously the opponent is going to be like, we want to put out our best performance. So I don't think that they're going to go 20-0, but I do think that they're going to be there again and they're going to be competing to go back to the Super Bowl. So
Listen, Lucas, I will take 19-1. Okay. I'll take that.
I will too, for sure. I guess I would settle for 19.
I guess I'll settle for it.
So my final question, man, is going to be a fun one. If you could pick anybody with your first pick outside of quarterback in your fantasy football league, so no quarterback, who are you taking?
Dude, that's a great question. I love questions like that. Okay, so outside of quarterback, obviously, because well, and so this will be a little insight on how we draft. I usually play quite a bit of fantasy football, so I usually don't go quarterbacks. Like some people go quarterbacks first round, which I always think is crazy. Yeah. Lamar Jackson's first year, I picked him up off waivers after the draft, and he became the best player on my team. And I was like, last year I drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 12th round.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he lasted that long. So, like, in the leagues that I play, quarterbacks usually aren't even that high. Well, they're statistically not that high, but the people draft them like crazy. So once you start drafting them, then it's kind of a fire sale and everybody starts grabbing them and because they get all nervous. But if I'm going the number one player for next year, honestly, I think if I was going smart, I'd have to pick a wide receiver. I'm sorry, I'd have to pick a running back. Usually I go wide receiver. I'd have to pick a running back, and I think somebody who's a safe bet is Derrick Henry. I think Derrick is a safe bet to get you 15 points 12 to 15 every single week. And I think that's something I mean, that's just invaluable to your team.
Yeah.
It's probably not the sexy pick, but I mean, the guy just produces.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm already very deep into fantasy football as of right now. So I'm in a pretty deep league where we have salary cap, free agency, draft, contracts. It's crazy. And
you guys are in depth, ain't you?
Yeah, we're in the free agency sign period, and it's intense, man. We got defense, so you got individual defense and individual offense, and it's a 12 team league, 16 team league. So like, you're starting to get down to the Darwin Thompsons are valuable.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun, man, and I definitely always like to ask, who likes to play fantasy football and like if they would pick somebody, because we always have this debate, and I've had it multiple times with guys at work. I've, are you going running back? Are you going receiver? And we always debate why you go with that pick. Receivers do this, running backs are consistent in this. And it's always good to hear other people, give their reasonings why. So, yeah, it was great to hear Derrick Henry, because I'm a running back first guy.
Yeah. So usually, depending on what pick I get, is I'm either going running back or wide receiver, because if you get a four set deep of four wide receivers that are just across the board killing it, you can always get a late round quarterback. Because like the difference between the Patrick Mahomeses and the Josh Allens or whatever, you insert somebody, well, whatever, statistically mediocre, they're not that much. So like you can draft a Patrick Mahomes in the second round, or you can, like I said, you can get Aaron Rodgers in the 12th, and I was fine. I was great. He had an MVP season. So I think that's always kind of funny. Like, so I always try to go like stack my receivers, or if you get a dominant tight end, that's why I was going to say somebody else I'd be very high on is drafting Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Or somebody who also is very good as Darren Waller, of course. But if you can get Travis Kelce in the first, 3 to 4 rounds, I think that's an invaluable position to have somebody very good at, because you cannot, like, again, wide receiver depth in the NFL right now is so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so deep. I got Adam Thielen last year on free agency. Like it's just kind of crazy where certain people fall. So running backs and tight ends, if you can get a good one right off the bat, I think you're set.
Yeah, for sure, man. And and like you said too, the receiver position is so deep. I mean, look at the guys that came in the draft last year, like Justin Jefferson and all of those guys. Now you got Devonta Smith, Henry Ruggs last year, Jerry Jeudy last year. I mean, and then obviously everybody that came in this year. I mean, this year was loaded with receivers as well. So yeah, most definitely, man, you can find those good receivers as well. It's just,
who was Dallas? Lamb?
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb killed it for me last year.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, I'm getting pumped. I'm excited. Man, I can't thank you enough, Blake, for coming on the show. Hopefully we can do this again here in the near future and talk a little bit more fantasy football. Definitely, see where we're at with the Chiefs and the Royals and stuff, man. But I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
No, man, Lucas, I appreciate, again, thank you so much for reaching out to me. This is awesome. I'm excited to kind of get introduced to the beat of Kansas City fans, and
awesome.
And we'll get out there. But I appreciate you having me on, brother.
No problem, man. You want to give your handles one more time before we wrap this up?
Yeah, last time my Twitter is Wake in Blake. It's Wake capital N Blake 29. And then my Instagram is Ginger Pants 4 for anybody who cares. So
you smile every time, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, all right, guys. Well, you know how I wrap up this show. As always, I appreciate you checking out the beat of KC, and have a good day.